Raquel Harper huddled against the cold concrete wall of a storefront, her breath visible in the icy air, a ghostly plume that vanished almost as quickly as it formed. The streets of Chicago were merciless in early December. The biting wind cut through her thin layers of clothing, and the chill seeped into her bones. She glanced down at her two daughters, Isabel and Nina, who were snuggled close to her, wrapped in a frayed blanket that was barely enough to keep them warm. The girls had fallen asleep, their small faces smudged with dirt, but peace was a fleeting illusion in their harsh reality. Raquel's heart ached at the sight of them. They were so small, so innocent, and yet they bore the weight of her struggles on their tiny shoulders. Each day was a battle for survival, and every night was a reminder of how far they had fallen from the life they once had. Raquel's fingers traced the silver band on her ring finger, an unbroken circle of love and loss. It was the last tangible connection to her past, a time when she believed in promises and dreams. Now it felt like a cruel reminder of everything she had lost. "Mommy?" Isabel stirred, her voice soft and sleepy, yet laced with concern. "Is it morning yet?" Raquel smiled, forcing warmth into her voice despite the chill in her heart. "Not yet, sweetheart. Just a little longer. Close. Your eyes!" Nina, still half asleep, snuggled closer to her sister, and Raquel wrapped her arm around them, both pulling them tighter into her embrace. She looked up at the sky, the grey clouds heavy with the threat of snow, and whispered a silent prayer. Just one more day, she thought. If only she could make it through today. As the hours passed, the city began to wake up around them. The sound of traffic grew louder as cars sped down the streets, and the distant clang of a train echoed through the air. Raquel's stomach growled, a painful reminder of their hunger. She hadn't eaten since the day before, and the meager scraps she had scavenged were long gone. Her thoughts drifted to the food kitchens she had heard about, but the fear of being judged, of being seen, held her back. She didn't want to frighten her daughters with the reality of their situation. Just then, a honking horn snapped her back to reality. A sleek black car pulled to a stop at the traffic light, and Raquel instinctively pulled her daughters closer. She didn't want to attract attention, but something made her look up. Her breath caught in her throat as she recognized the driver, Noah Callahan. The man she had once loved, the man who had left her and shattered her world. Noah's gaze fell on her, and a look of disbelief spread across his face. Raquel felt her heart race, a mix of shock and fear coursing through her veins. She quickly turned her head, hiding her face behind her hair, but it was too late. He was already stepping out of the car, the winter wind whipping around him as he approached. "Raquel." His voice was tentative, almost a whisper, as if he were afraid she might vanish into thin air. She didn't respond, frozen in place. Her mind raced with memories of their past, the laughter they had shared, the promises they had made. But that was a lifetime ago. Now she was a shadow of the woman he once knew. "Is it really you?" he asked, taking a cautious step forward, his eyes scanning her face. "What happened?" Raquel's heart pounded as she struggled to find a voice. "You shouldn't be here," she finally managed to say, her tone sharp and defensive. "You don't know me anymore." His expression shifted from shock to concern. "I can help you, Raquel. Please let me help you." A wave of anger surged through her. "Help? You're the last person I want help from. You left me." Her voice trembled, a mixture of hurt and desperation bubbling to the surface. Noah flinched at her words, but he held his ground. "I didn't want to leave. I had no choice. My father—" "Enough," Raquel interrupted, her voice rising. "Don't you dare blame your father. You made a choice. You chose your life over me, over us." The wind howled around them, and for a moment they stood in silence, the weight of their shared past hanging heavy in the air. Raquel's daughters stirred, sensing the tension, and she instinctively shielded them with her body. Noah's gaze shifted to the girls, and his heart sank. They were so small, so vulnerable. Are they yours?" he asked softly, his voice breaking slightly. Raquel nodded, her throat tightening. "Yes, Isabel and Nina. They're all I have." Noah hesitated, searching for the right words. "I didn't know. I'm so sorry." "Raquel." She felt her resolve wavering, but she couldn't let him in. Not now, not after everything. We don't need your pity, she said, her voice steady but laced with pain. Please, he pleaded, desperation creeping into his tone. Just let me help you. I can't stand to see you like this. Raquel's heart ached at the sincerity in his eyes, but she couldn't afford to trust him again. What do you want from me, Noah? A chance to feel good about yourself, to rescue the damsel in distress? No, he said firmly, stepping closer, his voice low and earnest. I want to be here for you and the girls. I want to make things right. She shook her head, her eyes narrowing. You can't just waltz back into my life and pretend everything is okay. It isn't. You have no idea what I've been through. Noah reached out his hand, hovering near her shoulder before he withdrew, it as if afraid of pushing her away further. Then let me help you, Raquel. I can offer you a place to stay, food safety. I can be there for you. Raquel's defenses wavered for a moment. The thought of warmth, safety, and food for her daughters was almost too tempting to resist. But the scars of the past ran too deep. You think it's that easy? You think I can just forget? No, I don't think it's easy, he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. But I want to try. I want to be here for you and the girls. A flicker of something, hope maybe, ignited in her chest, but it was quickly snuffed out by the reality of her situation. I can't, she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. I can't let you back in, not after everything. With a heavy heart, Raquel turned away, pulling her daughters closer. She couldn't risk their safety, couldn't risk the pain of opening old wounds, but as she walked away she could feel Noah's gaze on her, a haunting reminder of what had once been and what could never be again. The city around her continued, its relentless pace, but in that moment Raquel felt suspended in time, caught between the past and an uncertain future. Raquel stood in the grand foyer of the Callahan mansion, a place that felt both alien and overwhelming. The ornate chandeliers cast a warm glow, illuminating the lavish decor that surrounded her. She could hardly believe she was here, away from the cold, biting wind of the streets of Chicago, but the comfort of the mansion felt like a distant dream. As she looked around, her heart ached for the life she once had, and the specter of that life haunted her every step. Do you want something to drink, Raquel? Noah's voice broke her reverie, pulling her back from the echo of her thoughts. He stood a few steps away, his brow furrowed with concern, holding a glass of water in one hand and a steaming mug of coffee in the other. Raquel shook her head slowly, her fingers absently tracing the outline of the silver ring on her finger, the only remnant of a love she once cherished. No, thank you, she replied softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm just trying to take it all in. Noah stepped closer, the warmth of his presence a stark contrast to the chill that still lingered in her bones from the streets. I know this is a lot, he said gently, but you and the girls are safe here, I promise. She met his gaze, searching for any hint of insincerity, but found none. His eyes were filled with a mixture of regret and resolute determination. I appreciate that, Noah, but I just don't want to impose. You don't understand what it's like to live like I have. Then help me understand, he urged, lowering his voice, as if the walls themselves could eavesdrop on their conversation. I want to help you and the girls. You deserve more than this. Raquel's heart ached. At his words, she wanted to believe him, to believe that this wasn't just a fleeting moment of pity. It's not that simple, she replied, her voice trembling slightly. I can't just forget everything, you know, the past. It never really leaves. Noah took a step back, giving her space, but his eyes never left hers. I get that, but maybe facing it together will help. Just then Isabel and Nina bounded into the room, their laughter ringing like music in the otherwise silent mansion. Raquel felt a rush of warmth as she watched her daughters, their little faces glowing with excitement and wonder. "Mommy, look," Isabel exclaimed, pointing at the intricate patterns on the marble floor. "It's like a big puzzle. And it's so shiny." Nina added, her eyes wide with amazement as she twirled around her tiny feet, barely making a sound on the cool surface. Raquel smiled, her heart swelling at their joy amidst her turmoil. "It is shiny, isn't it, just like you two?" she said, kneeling down to their level. "But remember, we need to be careful in here, okay?" The girls nodded, their expressions turning serious, But it didn't last long. They dashed off again, exploring their new surroundings with unbridled curiosity. Raquel turned back to Noah, who was watching the girls with a mix of admiration and concern. "They're beautiful," he said, his voice low. "You've done an incredible job raising them." Raquel felt a flicker of pride. "I've tried my best. It hasn't always been easy." "I can't imagine," Noah said, his expression softening. "But you're not alone anymore. Whatever it takes, I'll be here for you." Just then the front door swung open, and Augustus Callahan entered his presence commanding and cold. Raquel's heart raced at the sight of the man who had once been a symbol of everything that had gone wrong in her life. He looked at her with an inscrutable expression, as if weighing her worth against the opulence of his world. "Raquel," he said, his voice smooth but lacking warmth, "I didn't expect to see you here." "Neither did I," she replied, her tone sharp. Noah stepped forward, his stance protective. "Father, this is not the time." Augustus dismissed him with a wave of his hand, his gaze fixed on Raquel. "You understand that your presence here will raise questions. People will talk." Raquel felt a surge of anger and fear. "Let them talk. I'm here for my daughters, not for your reputation." Augustus's lips curled into a small, condescending smile. "Ah, the fierce mother. But you must remember, the world is not as forgiving as you hope it will be." Raquel stood her ground, refusing to back down. "I'm not afraid of you or your world anymore." Noah glanced between them, his expression tense as he tried to diffuse the situation. "Let's focus on what's important right now. The girls need stability, and that starts with us." Augustus's gaze narrowed, but Raquel could see the flicker of surprise at Noah's defiance. "You're choosing her over your own family, over everything I've built." "This isn't about you, Father," Noah shot back. "It's about Raquel and the girls. They deserve a chance." Raquel felt her heart race as she witnessed their conflict. This was a side of Noah she hadn't seen before. A man willing to stand against his father for her and her children. "Your loyalty will be your downfall, Noah," Augustus warned, his voice low and menacing. "You have no idea what you're getting into." "I know exactly what I'm getting into," Noah replied firmly, his hand finding Raquel's and squeezing it gently. "And I won't back down." Augustus's eyes darkened, but he turned away, his presence slipping back into the shadows of the mansion. Raquel exhaled slowly, feeling the tension in the room dissipate, even if just a little. "Are you okay?" Noah asked, concern etched on his face. Raquel nodded, though the weight of Augustus's words lingered like a shroud. "I will be. I need time to adjust. All of this is so new." "Take all the time you need," Noah reassured her. "Just know that I'm here. You're not alone in this." The warmth of his hand in hers provided a small comfort, a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty. As the girls returned with wide smiles and stories of their discoveries, Raquel felt the first real sense of belonging she had experienced in years. "Mommy, can we explore the garden?" Isabel asked, tugging at Raquel's sleeve. "Please, Mommy." Nina chimed in, her big eyes pleading. Raquel exchanged a glance with Noah, who nodded, encouraging her to embrace this moment. "Yes, let's go see the garden," she said, her voice gaining strength. The four of them stepped out into the sprawling garden, the fresh air invigorating and full of possibilities. Raquel watched her daughters run ahead, their laughter echoing against the backdrop of the blooming flowers. For the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of hope tugging at her heart, a hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this was the beginning of something new. "Thank you for this," she said softly to Noah, who walked beside her, admiring the scene before them. "Just doing what's right," he replied, his smile genuine, "and I wouldn't trade it for anything." As they strolled through the garden, Raquel felt the shadows of her past begin to lift, replaced by the promise of a future she dared to imagine. Raquel stood in the dimly lit cafe, the smell of burnt coffee mingling with the cold air that seeped through the cracks in the glass windows. The persistent hum of chatter felt like a distant echo, a world away from the turmoil that had become her life. She clutched her coat tighter around her, feeling the weight of the universe pressing on her shoulders as she waited for Victor Hale, the father of her daughters, to arrive. The thought of facing him again sent a shiver racing down her spine. As she sat at a small table for two, she noticed the way her hands trembled slightly, betraying her calm facade. She had made a promise to herself, to be strong for Isabel and Nina, but the memories of Victor, the man who had once claimed to love her, clawed at her resolve. He had a way of twisting words, of turning love into something dark and suffocating, and she couldn't allow that to happen again. The bell above the cafe door jingled, and Raquel's heart raced as she turned to see Victor enter. He looked the same, as she remembered, tall, imposing, with an air of arrogance that seemed to fill the room. He spotted her immediately, a smirk creeping across his face as he approached. "Raquel," he said smoothly, sliding into the seat across from her. "It's been a while." She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "What do you want, Victor?" He leaned back, crossing his arms as if he were in control of the situation. "I think you know why I'm here. The girls. I want to see them." Her heart raced at the mention of Isabel and Nina. "You think you can just waltz back into their lives after everything? You have no right." Victor's expression hardened, the charm slipping away to reveal the man she feared. "You think you can raise them on the streets? They deserve a better life, Raquel. You can't give that to them." "I'm doing the best I can," she shot back, her voice rising. "It may not be perfect, but I love them and they love me. That's what matters." He leaned in, his voice low and dangerous. "Love doesn't pay the bills or keep them safe. You're living in a fantasy. I can provide for them, give them a home and education. You know that." Raquel shook her head, anger boiling up inside her. "And what, you think money can replace a mother? You think you can just take them away from me because you have a nice house and a fat bank account?" Victor's lips curled into a sly smile. "I can take you to court, Raquel, and with your history you won't stand a chance. Just think about it." She clenched her fists, feeling the heat rise to her cheeks. "You think you can intimidate me? You think I'll just roll over and let you take my daughters?" "I don't have to intimidate you," he replied, leaning back in his chair, his confidence radiating. "You know I have the power to do it legally. You're the one who's been living on the streets. That's not exactly a good look for a mother." Raquel felt the weight of his words pressed down on her. "I won't let you use my past against me. I fought too hard for them." Victor chuckled, the sound cold and devoid of warmth. "Fighting doesn't matter when you're outmatched. I can make their lives so much better than you ever could." Her heart sank as she realized the truth. In his words, the reality was harsh. She had no financial stability, no place to call her own, and no support system. But an ember of defiance ignited within her. "You think I'll just give up? You don't know me at all, Victor." He leaned forward, his eyes locking onto hers. "You're going to need to think carefully, Raquel. I can make this easy for you, or I can make it hell. Your choice." The cafe around them faded into the background as Raquel's world narrowed down to just Victor's menacing presence. She couldn't let fear dictate her future, not for herself, and especially not for her daughters. "You're not getting anything from me, Victor," she said firmly, her voice steadying. "I will fight you every step of the way." He laughed, a sound that sent chills racing down her spine. "You're brave, I'll give you that. But bravery won't win you this battle. I'll see you in court." Raquel stood, her heart pounding in her chest. "You may have money and power, but you will never have the love of my daughters. They are my world, and I won't let you take them." With that, she turned and walked out of the cafe, her resolve strengthening with each step. The air outside was cold, but it felt liberating. She could face Victor. She had to, for Isabel and Nina. Back at the mansion, Noah was pacing the living room, his mind racing. He had been trying to decipher the meaning behind the anonymous letter that had arrived earlier that day, but now, with Raquel out, he felt a growing sense of dread. He was just about to pick up the phone to call her when he heard the front door open. Raquel entered, her expression a mixture of determination and fear. "Noah," she said, her voice trembling slightly. He rushed to her side, concern etched across his features. "What happened? Are you okay?" She nodded, though her eyes betrayed the storm brewing inside her. "I just had a meeting with Victor." Noah's jaw clenched. "What did he want?" "To see the girls," she replied, her voice steadying. "He thinks he can take them from me." "Not a chance," Noah said firmly, his protective instincts kicking in. "He doesn't stand a chance against you." Raquel shook her head. He's powerful, Noah. He knows how to manipulate the system. He threatened to take me to court. Noah felt a surge of anger. I won't let that happen. We'll fight him together. But what if we lose? Raquel's voice cracked, revealing the vulnerability she had been fighting to hide. I can't let him take them away. Noah took her hands in his, grounding her. You're not alone in this. We'll find a way, I promise. Raquel searched his eyes, searching for the reassurance she desperately needed. You don't understand what he's capable of. I do, Noah said softly. I know the kind of man he is. But I also know that you're stronger than he thinks. You've already overcome so much. Raquel took a deep breath, her heart swelling with gratitude for the man standing before her. Thank you, Noah. I can't let him win. You won't, he assured her. We'll gather evidence, talk to lawyers. We won't let him intimidate us. As they stood together, the weight of the world pressing down on them, Raquel felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. Maybe, just maybe, they could fight this battle together and win. The courtroom buzzed with tension, the air thick with unspoken accusations and the weight of secrets long buried. Raquel Harper sat at one end of the room, her heart pounding in her chest as she gripped the armrests of her chair. The wood was polished cold against her skin, but the chill in the air was nothing compared to the fear that gripped her. Across the aisle, Victor Hale sat with a self-satisfied smirk, his presence a dark shadow looming over her and her daughters. The gavel struck echoing through the room like a gunshot, and the judge, a stern woman in her 60s, called the court to order. Mr. Hale, the judge began, her voice steady yet commanding, you are here today seeking custody of your children Isabel and Nina. I trust you are prepared to present your case. Victor leaned back in his chair, adjusting his tie, the very picture of arrogance. Your Honor, I am fully prepared. My daughters deserve a stable home, one they have been deprived of due to their mother's choices. He paused, letting his words sink in a cruel smile playing on his lips. Raquel Harper is unfit to raise them. She has been living on the streets, and I have the resources to provide them with the life they deserve. Raquel's stomach twisted at his words. She felt the heat of anger rise within her, but she swallowed it down, reminding herself why she was here. She had fought tooth and nail to keep her girls safe, and she wasn't going to let Victor take them away without a fight. Her lawyer, a determined woman named Clara, stood up, her posture confident. Your Honor, while Mr. Hale claims to be the better parent, it's essential to consider the trauma and instability that these children have faced. Raquel Harper has shown nothing but resilience and love for her daughters. She has fought against insurmountable odds to keep them safe. The judge nodded, her gaze flickering between the two parents. We need to hear from Ms. Harper. Please step forward. Raquel's heart raced as she rose from her seat, her legs trembling slightly. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to maintain composure. As she stepped to the witness stand, she could feel Noah's eyes on her, a steadfast anchor in the storm. He was seated behind her, and his presence brought her a flicker of comfort amid the chaos. Ms. Harper, the judge said, her voice gentle but firm. Please tell us about your situation and your daughters. What can you provide for them? Raquel swallowed hard, her voice shaking as she began. Your Honor, I know I haven't always had the best circumstances, but I love Isabel and Nina more than anything in this world. I've done everything I can to protect them, to keep them safe. She paused, glancing at her daughters, who sat with wide eyes clutching each other's hands. I may not have a home like Mr. Hale, but I have given them love. I've taught them to be kind, to be strong. That matters more than money, Victor scoffed, interrupting her. Love doesn't put food on the table, Ms. Harper. Love doesn't provide a stable environment. My daughters deserve better than the streets. Raquel felt a rush of anger, but she took a steadying breath. They deserve a mother who loves them, who will fight for them. I may have made mistakes, but I'm not the same person I was. I've changed. I'm working hard to create a stable life for them. Please, Your Honor, you have to believe me. The judge, but she wasn't alone. Noah's quiet strength bolstered her resolve. Your Honor, Noah finally spoke, rising from his seat. If I may, the judge nodded, allowing him to proceed. I know Raquel's past is complicated, but I can attest to her character. She is a devoted mother who has faced incredible challenges. I'm here to support her to help her create a life for her daughters. My family can offer assistance, and I will do everything in my power to ensure they have the stability they need." Raquel turned to look at Noah, her heart swelling with gratitude. His support was a lifeline. In that moment, she could see the sincerity in his eyes, the determination to stand by her side no matter the outcome. Victor scoffed again. "This is absurd. You think a simple offer of help will change anything. This woman is a liability." "Enough," the judge interjected, her voice rising above the noise. "This court is not here to judge past mistakes, but rather to determine what is in the best interest of the children moving forward." As the judge continued to deliberate, Raquel felt the tension in the air shift. The truth of Noah's support, the vulnerability of her heart laid bare, began to transform her fear into hope. She could see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, a possibility for a future that didn't seem so bleak. The judge cleared her throat, drawing everyone's attention back to her. "I will make my decision based on the evidence presented, but I want you all to understand the gravity of this situation. The well-being of Isabel and Nina is of utmost importance. I will not tolerate any actions that threaten their safety or happiness." Raquel nodded, her heart racing as she held her breath, waiting for the judge's ruling. "Thank you, Your Honor," she whispered, hoping her sincerity would carry through. Victor crossed his arms, a smug expression on his face. "You'll see, Raquel. You can't hide from your past forever." But in that moment, Raquel felt a surge of strength. She wouldn't let Victor's words shake her resolve. She had fought too hard for this chance, and she wasn't going to give up now. She was ready to face whatever came next, determined to protect her daughters at all costs. As the judge began to speak again, Raquel's heart raced, the weight of the moment crashing down on her like a wave. Whatever the outcome, she knew this fight was far from over. But she also knew that with Noah by her side, she was no longer alone. And for the first time in a long time, she felt a flicker of hope igniting in her heart. Raquel stood in front of the tall, ornate mirrors that lined the hallway of the Callahan mansion, her reflection a stark contrast to the opulence surrounding her. The gold-framed glass glimmered under the soft chandelier light, capturing her weary eyes and the disheveled hair that framed her face. She brushed a hand across the dusty surface, feeling both out of place and strangely captivated by the beauty that surrounded her. It had been a few weeks since Noah had brought her and the girls into his world, and every day felt like a waking dream that she was afraid would shatter at any moment. The weight of her past still clung to her like a heavy cloak, and she found herself frequently glancing at the door, half expecting Victor to push through and stake his claim. Her heart raced at the thought the memories of the fear he instilled in her were still fresh. She turned away from the mirror, shaking her head as if to dispel the dark thoughts that threatened to consume her. "Mommy?" Isabel's voice broke. Through her reverie, sweet and innocent, a sound that grounded Raquel amidst her swirling emotions. The little girl with her wide eyes and messy pigtails bounded into the room, followed closely by her sister Nina. Their laughter echoed through the hall, a melody that made Raquel's heart swell with love and pride. "Yes, my loves," Raquel knelt down to their level, her arms open wide. The girls rushed into her embrace, their giggles filling the air with warmth. "Look what Noah made us," Nina exclaimed, holding up a colorful drawing of a house with a big sun smiling down on it. The crayon strokes were bold and carefree, much like the girls themselves. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. You're an amazing artist," Raquel beamed, ruffling Nina's hair affectionately. She cast a glance towards the living room, where Noah sat, his brow furrowed in concentration as he worked on his laptop. The sight of him so engrossed in his tasks, yet always making time for the girls, filled her with a sense of gratitude. "Can we show him?" Isabel asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Of course, let's go." Raquel stood up, taking both girls by the hand as they skipped toward Noah. He looked up, a smile breaking across his face as they approached. "What do you have there?" he asked, leaning back in his chair, his demeanor shifting from work to play in an instant. "We made a picture for you," Nina declared, thrusting the crayon drawing into Noah's hands. He took it gingerly, his gaze sweeping over the colorful masterpiece. "This is fantastic. I love it," Noah exclaimed, his enthusiasm genuine. "Is this our new house?" he teased, pointing to the drawing. "Yeah, and the sun is always shining because we're happy," Isabel chimed in, her voice bubbling with joy. Raquel watched the interaction, her heart swelling. It was moments like these that made her believe they could actually find a way to be happy again, despite the shadows of their pasts lingering just out of sight. "Let's hang it on the fridge," Noah suggested, standing up and leading the girls to the kitchen. Raquel followed her mind, wandering back to the threats that loomed over them. The anonymous letters, the lurking specter of Victor, and the knowledge that Noah was still keeping secrets felt like a storm brewing in the distance. As Noah magnetically attached the drawing to the fridge, he glanced back at Raquel, catching the flicker of concern in her eyes. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice low and filled with concern. "Just thinking," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "About the future, about Victor." Noah's expression hardened slightly. "I won't let him take the girls from you, Raquel, I promise." Her heart clenched at his words, a mixture of hope and fear battling within her. "I know you're trying to help, but—" She hesitated, searching for the right words. "What if he finds a way? What if he uses the past against us?" Noah stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I'll protect you. I'll do whatever it takes. You're not alone in this." Raquel felt a spark of warmth at his reassurance, but the shadows of doubt still lingered. "I don't want to drag you into this. You have your family and your business. I don't want to jeopardize that." Noah shook his head, his determination fierce. "You and the girls are my family now. I'll fight for you, for all of us." Just then the doorbell chimed through the house, slicing through the tension that hung in the air. Raquel's stomach dropped. Victor. Could it be him already? She exchanged a worried glance with Noah, who immediately moved to the front door, his expression hardening into one of resolve. "I'll get it," he said firmly, striding toward the entrance. Raquel's heart raced as she followed him, the dread of confrontation creeping back into her mind. She stood close to the wall, half hidden from view, her breath caught in her throat as Noah swung the door open. "Hello, Noah," came the smooth, chilling voice of Augustus Callahan, Noah's father. "I need to speak with you." Raquel's heart sank at the sight of the older man, his presence commanding and suffocating. She felt a surge of protectiveness surge through her, instinctively stepping forward to stand beside Noah. "What do you want, father?" Noah's tone was strained but defiant, a clear indication that he was not in the mood for games. "I want to talk about your little arrangement," Augustus replied, his gaze flicking past Noah to Raquel. His expression hardened at the sight of her, and Raquel felt a shiver run down her spine. "You're making a mistake, son. This isn't where you belong." "I belong with Raquel and the girls," Noah shot back, his voice rising. "You can't dictate my life anymore." "Oh, but I can," Augustus said, his tone laced with condescension. "You think this is all just going to end well? You have no idea what you're risking." Raquel felt her blood boil at the arrogance in his voice. "You don't know anything about us," she interjected, her voice steady, despite the fear clawing at her insides. Augustus turned his gaze to her, a look of disdain crossing his features. "You think you can just waltz into my son's life, and everything will be perfect? You have no idea what you're dealing with." "Enough," Noah interrupted, stepping protectively in front of Raquel. "You will not threaten her. You will not threaten us." "Threaten?" Augustus raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips. "I'm merely stating facts. You're playing with fire, Noah. You're going to get burned." With that, he turned on his heel, leaving Noah standing in the doorway, fists clenched at his sides. Raquel felt a wave of anxiety wash over her, mixing with the anger she felt toward Augustus. "What was that all about?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Noah took a deep breath, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "He's trying to intimidate me to make me doubt my choices. But I won't let him win, not again." Raquel nodded, feeling a flicker of strength in his resolve. "We'll face this together," she said softly, drawing closer to him. "No matter what he throws at us." Noah turned to her, his eyes filled with determination. Together, he echoed the warmth of his embrace enveloping her, warding off the chill that Augustus had left in his wake. In that moment, Raquel felt a renewed sense of hope. Though shadows lingered, They would fight them together, hand in hand, as a family. Raquel stood in the dimly lit room of the mansion, the soft light filtering through the heavy curtains, casting a muted glow across the space. She glanced around, her heart racing as memories of the streets flooded back, the chill of the winter nights, the gnawing hunger in her belly, the sound of her daughter's soft whimpers as they clung to her for warmth. Here in this opulent house she felt like an intruder, a ghost hovering in a world that was never meant for her. "Noah," she called softly, her voice barely a whisper, as if the walls themselves might reject her presence. She could hear the faint clatter of dishes coming from the kitchen, and the laughter of her daughters, a sound so sweet, yet so foreign to her ears. The warmth of the room contrasted sharply with the memories of her past, and she wrapped her arms around herself, trying to stave off the chill that still clung to her bones. "Yeah, I'm here," Noah's voice rang out, filled with the warmth and familiarity that made her heart ache. He appeared in the doorway, a tray of steaming mugs and a plate of toast in his hands, his smile brightening the room. "I thought we could have a little breakfast together. Is that okay?" Raquel hesitated, her heart pounding against her chest. I don't want to take up too much of your time." She glanced down at her worn clothes, the stains that seemed to cling to her like a second skin. "I mean, you have a lot going on and I don't want to be a burden." Noah stepped closer, setting the tray down on the table with a gentle clink. "You're not a burden, Raquel. You and the girls are my priority now." His eyes were sincere, and for a moment she felt the weight of her past lift slightly. "Please sit down, let me take care of you for once." She nodded, a small tentative smile breaking through her defenses as she moved to the table. The scent of freshly toasted bread wafted through the air, and her stomach growled in response, reminding her just how long it had been since she had eaten anything substantial. Her fingers trembled as she reached for a piece of toast, the warmth radiating through her palms. "Here, let me pour you some coffee." Noah filled a mug and handed it to her, their fingers brushing for a brief moment. Raquel's breath hitched. The simple touch ignited a spark of warmth within her that she hadn't felt in years. "Thank you," she murmured, taking a sip. The rich flavor enveloped her senses, and she closed her eyes, savoring the moment. "It's really good. Just like you deserve," Noah said softly, sitting across from her. He watched her carefully, his gaze filled with a mix of concern and admiration. "How are the girls doing? I know it's a big change for them." Raquel took a deep breath, her heart swelling with pride, as she thought of Isabel and Nina playing in the garden just outside. "They're adjusting. I think they like the space, the colors." She paused, feeling the lump form in her throat. "It's just hard for them to understand why we're here and not back home." Noah's expression shifted to one of understanding. "Home can mean so many things, Raquel. It's easy to forget that it's not just a place. It's the people you're with." He leaned forward, sincerity etched on his face. "And I want to be one of those people for you." Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, and she blinked them away. "Noah, She hesitated, unsure of how to express the tumult of emotions swirling inside her. "You don't know what it means to me to have you here, but I'm scared. Scared of getting close. Scared of what could happen if it all falls apart again." "I get that," Noah replied, his voice steady and reassuring. "But I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. I've made my mistakes and I'm trying to make things right. You're not alone in this." His words wrapped around her heart like a warm embrace, and she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. "I want to believe you," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it's hard to let go of the past." "Then let's face it together," he urged gently. "We'll take it one day at a time. I'm not asking you to forget, I'm just asking you to try." Raquel nodded, feeling the weight of her burdens shift slightly. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of laughter as Isabel and Nina came bounding into the room, their cheeks flushed with the excitement of exploration. "Mommy, look what we found," Isabel squealed, holding up a small flower that she had picked from the garden. "It's so pretty," Nina chimed in, her eyes wide with wonder. "Can we keep it?" Raquel's heart swelled with joy as she watched her daughters, their innocence shining through despite the shadows of their past. "Of course, sweetheart. It's beautiful, just like you two." Noah smiled at the girls, his demeanor softening as he leaned back in his chair. "How you girls are going to fill this house with laughter, I can already tell." "Can we help make breakfast too?" Isabel asked eagerly, bouncing on her toes. Yeah, we want to make pancakes, Nina added, her enthusiasm infectious. Raquel exchanged a glance with Noah, who chuckled softly. I think we could use some little chefs in the kitchen. What do you say, Raquel? I think that sounds perfect, she replied, feeling a warmth spread through her. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. For the first time in a long while, she felt the fragile threads of hope weaving through her heart. As they moved into the kitchen, Raquel felt a sense of belonging that she had long thought was lost. Forever. The laughter of her daughters echoed around her, mingling with Noah's easy smile and playful banter. It felt like the sun breaking through the clouds, illuminating the dark corners of her heart. But as they began to mix the ingredients, a shadow flickered at the edge of her mind. The letters, the threats, the looming presence of Victor, these were not far behind. They were the ghosts that haunted her, lurking just out of sight, waiting for the right moment to pounce. She knew she had to be careful, but in this moment, surrounded by warmth and laughter, she allowed herself to feel a glimmer of joy. Okay. Little chefs, let's get started, Noah declared, rolling up his sleeves with a grin. Raquel watched him interact with her daughters, his patience and kindness a balm to her weary soul. For a fleeting moment, she dared to imagine a future filled with love and laughter, a life rebuilt on trust and hope. Yet deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that the past was not done with her yet. Raquel sat on the frayed edge of a worn-out bench in the small park across from the mansion, her fingers anxiously twisting the silver ring on her left hand. The cold, damp air of Chicago nipped at her cheeks, but she hardly noticed her thoughts were consumed with the events of the past few days. The last remnants of daylight faded, casting long shadows across the ground as the sun dipped below the horizon. Isabel and Nina played on the grass, their laughter ringing like distant chimes, a stark contrast to the weight pressing down on Raquel's chest. Noah had promised her safety, a sanctuary for her and her daughters, but the specter of Victor Hale loomed larger every moment. Raquel couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability that had settled in her bones since Victor had reappeared. She looked over at her daughters, Isabel with her wild curls and bright smile, and Nina always a step behind, mimicking her sister's every move. They were her light, her reason for fighting, but the uncertainty of their future gnawed at her. "Mommy, look!" shouted Isabel, her voice bubbling with excitement as she twirled in circles, arms outstretched like a little bird taking flight. Nina giggled, trying to keep up, her small legs moving as fast as they could. Raquel's heart ached at the sight. She wanted to shield them from the harshness of the world, to keep them from the shadows that threatened their innocence. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Raquel replied, forcing a smile, though her heart felt heavy with dread. She watched them, wishing she could bottle this moment of joy and keep it safe forever. But the reality was that she was trapped in a storm, and the clouds were gathering. As she sat there, lost in her thoughts, a familiar figure approached. Noah, with his tousled hair and warm eyes, made his way toward her, concern etched on his face. Raquel's heart fluttered at the sight of him, a mixture of comfort and confusion swirling within her. "Hey," he said softly, taking a seat beside her. The warmth radiating from him was inviting, but Raquel remained cautious. Since their reunion, they had danced around difficult conversations, both acutely aware of the unsaid words hanging in the air between them. "How are the girls?" he asked, glancing over at Isabel and Nina, who were now engrossed in a game of tag. "They're happy," Raquel replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "For now." Noah sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I wish I could do more. I want to protect you both." "You mean protect us from Victor?" Raquel interjected, her voice sharper than she intended. "I know what he is capable of, Noah. You don't have to sugarcoat it." He looked at her, his expression earnest. "I don't want to underestimate him, but I also don't want you to live in fear. We have to focus on the positives, on building a life for you and the girls." Raquel shook her head, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "You don't understand. Fear is all I've known for years. It's not something I can just turn off." She glanced at the ground, her heart racing as memories washed over her, the nights spent hiding, the desperate escapes, and the lingering threats. "I can't let my guard down, not now." Noah placed a hand on her knee, his touch gentle yet firm. "I'm here, Raquel. I won't let him take you away again. We'll figure this out together. His words hung in the air, a fragile promise that both soothed and terrified her. She wanted to believe him, to trust that he wouldn't betray her again, but the scars of the past were deep. You don't know what it feels like to have everything you love ripped away, she said, her voice trembling. I might not know your pain, but I know what it's like to lose someone you care about, Noah replied, his voice thick with emotion. I lost you once, and I won't let that happen again. Raquel looked at him, searching for any hint of deception, but all she found was sincerity in his gaze. The warmth of his hand on her knee sent a shiver down her spine, awakening feelings she had buried deep. Noah, she began, but her voice faltered. Before she could finish, Isabel ran over her face, flushed with excitement. Mommy, Noah, can we go to the playground now, please? Raquel smiled at her daughter, the innocence in her eyes reminding her of the happiness they were fighting to preserve. Of course, sweetheart, let's go. As they made their way to the playground, Raquel felt the tension ease slightly. Watching her daughters play, their laughter ringing through the air like music, was a balm for her troubled heart. Noah stood beside her, a quiet presence, and for a moment the weight of the world seemed to lift. But just as they settled onto the swings, Raquel's phone buzzed in her pocket, shattering the moment. She pulled it out and glanced at the screen, her heart sinking as she read the message. Meet me at the cafe tomorrow. I have something you need to hear. The sender was unknown, but the implications were clear. Her stomach churned with dread. Noah, she said, her voice shaking, I just got a message. It's from someone who knows about Victor. Noah's expression shifted immediately. What does it say? That they want to meet me tomorrow at the cafe. They claim to have information. Raquel replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Anxiety twisted in her gut as she considered the potential danger of revealing herself to a stranger. Noah's eyes darkened with worry. You can't go alone. I'll come with you. Raquel hesitated, fear creeping back in. What if it's a trap? What if they're working for Victor? They might be, but we won't know unless you go. I'll be there to protect you, he insisted, determination etched on his face. You don't have to do this alone. Raquel looked at him, her heart pounding. She wanted to trust him, to believe that he would keep her safe, but the fear of the unknown loomed large. I don't know, Noah. What if it puts you in danger? He reached out, taking her hands in his grip firm and reassuring. You and the girls are my priority. I won't let anything happen to you. We'll face this together. Raquel took a deep breath, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. The thought of facing Victor alone was unbearable, yet trusting someone again felt like stepping into darkness. But looking into Noah's eyes, she saw a flicker of hope, a chance to reclaim her life. Okay, she finally said, her voice steadying. We'll go together. As they watched Isabel and Nina swing higher and higher, Raquel felt a small spark of courage ignite within her. The world was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while she felt less alone. Together, they would confront whatever shadows awaited them. As the cold winds of Chicago howled outside, Raquel sat on the edge of her bed, staring blankly at the wall. The mansion, once a symbol of safety, now felt like a gilded cage. It was hard to reconcile the warmth of the beautifully decorated rooms with the constant chill that came from living in fear. She could still feel the weight of the letter she had received earlier that day, the anonymous threat lingering in her mind like a dark cloud. Noah entered the room, pushing the door open gently, his expression a mixture of concern and determination. Raquel, he said softly, taking a step closer. Are you okay? She turned her head slightly, her long hair falling over her shoulder, like a curtain that separated her from the world. I don't know, Noah. I thought I could handle this, but with Victor back, it feels like everything is slipping away again. Noah took a deep breath, his heart aching at the vulnerability she displayed. You're not alone in this. We'll figure it out together. I promise. He moved closer, sitting beside her on the bed. I'm doing everything I can to protect you and the girls. Raquel's eyes flickered with uncertainty. What if it's not enough? What if he takes them away from me? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, her voice trembling. Noah reached for her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers, his warmth contrasting sharply with her cold skin. I won't let that happen. I'll fight for you, for Isabel and Nina. We will not let him ruin this chance we have. She looked into his eyes, searching for the sincerity she desperately needed to believe in. And what about your father? He could ruin everything with one word. Noah's jaw clenched at the mention of Augustus. I'm done letting him dictate my life. This is about you and those girls. I'll confront him if I have to. We can't keep living in fear of the past. A flicker of hope ignited in her chest, but it was quickly followed by doubt. It's easy to say that now, but what happens when the threat is real? What happens when it's too late? Let's not go there, he said firmly. We need to focus on the here and now, one step at a time. We'll have a plan. Just as they began to feel a semblance of peace, a soft knock on the door interrupted their moment. It was James, the ever-reliable butler, his face as stoic as ever. Excuse me, Mr. Callahan, Miss Harper. There's been an incident. Victor Hale is demanding to see you, Raquel. Raquel's heart raced, panic flooding her senses. What does he want? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. James's eyes narrowed slightly. He's threatening to go public with certain details of your past if you don't comply. Noah stood abruptly, his protective instincts kicking in. I won't let him intimidate you. We'll face him together. Raquel felt a surge of anxiety wash over her. You don't understand Noah. He's dangerous. He doesn't play by the rules. Neither do we, Noah replied, determination etched across his features. I'll call the police. We'll have them on standby in case things get out of hand. Raquel shook her head, her mind racing. No, don't do that. It will only escalate things. Victor thrives on chaos. James cleared his throat. Perhaps it would be best to hear what he has to say first, Miss Harper. You can't let him hold power over you. After a moment, Raquel nodded, feeling a strange mix of dread and resolve. Fine, I'll talk to him, but I need you both to be there with me. Noah agreed instantly, while James stepped back to prepare for the impending confrontation. The three of them made their way to the living room, where Victor awaited their arrival, exuding an air of confidence that made Raquel's skin crawl. Victor leaned back in an expensive leather chair, his presence dominating the room. Ah, Raquel, he said with a smirk, his voice dripping with condescension. I see you've found yourself quite the cozy little life here. Cut the pleasantries, Victor, she replied, forcing herself to remain steady. What do you want? He chuckled, the sound hollow and menacing. Straight to the point, I see. I appreciate that. You and I both know that I have rights to those girls, and I'm willing to negotiate. Raquel's heart pounded, and she felt Noah tense beside her. You don't care about them, you just want to control me. Victor waved a dismissive hand. Oh, I care about my daughters, believe me, but let's not pretend you're the perfect mother, Raquel. I could easily paint a very different picture for the courts. One where you're an unfit parent, living on the streets. Raquel's breath caught in her throat. You wouldn't dare. Try me, he said, leaning forward, his eyes gleaming with malice. I have the resources to make your life a living hell. You should be grateful I'm even offering you a deal. Noah stepped forward, anger burning in his eyes. You're a coward, Victor. You hide behind threats and manipulation. You have no right to speak to Raquel like that. Victor's gaze shifted to Noah, a flicker of recognition crossing his face. And who might you be, the rich boy playing hero? I'm the man who will make sure you never lay a finger on those girls again. Noah shot back, standing tall. You don't scare me. Victor's smile widened, but it was devoid of warmth. You think you can protect her. You don't know the lengths I'm willing to go to. You don't know what's at stake. Raquel felt the weight of the moment, pressing down on her. I'm not afraid of you, Victor. I will fight for my daughters no matter what it takes. Victor leaned back, assessing her with a calculating gaze. Very well, Raquel. Let's see how long that courage lasts when the truth comes crashing down. As he stood to leave, Raquel felt a surge of defiance. You won't win, Victor. I have a family now, and I refuse to let you tear us apart. He paused at the door, a twisted smile on his lips. Just remember, Raquel, some truths are best left buried. With that, he was gone, leaving behind an echo of his threat that lingered in the air like a storm cloud. Raquel turned to Noah, her heart racing. What are we going to do? Noah took her hands in his, grounding her. We're going to face this head on. Together, no more running. We'll prepare for whatever he throws at us. Raquel nodded, determination filling her as she squeezed his hands tightly. You're right. I won't let him control my life any longer. James stepped back into the room, his usual composed demeanor slightly shaken. I suggest we start gathering evidence and speaking to legal counsel immediately. We need to be ready for anything. Let's do it, Noah said, his voice firm. We'll protect this family no matter the cost. As they began to strategize, Raquel felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. For the first time in a long time, she was ready to take control of her life to fight for her daughters and the future she envisioned. The shadows of the past were closing in, but she was no longer afraid to confront them. Together they would face whatever came next, determined to emerge victorious against the darkness that threatened to engulf them. Raquel sat in the dimly lit cafe, her fingers wrapped tightly around the warm cup of coffee. The steam curled up into the air, mingling with the scent of pastries and the quiet chatter of patrons around her. It was a small tucked-away place, a little haven away from the chaos of the world outside, but today it felt more like a prison. Her heart raced as she waited for Victor Hale, the man who had haunted her nightmares since she had escaped him. The bell above the door chimed, and Raquel's stomach knotted as she looked up. Victor entered, his presence immediately darkening the atmosphere. He wore a tailored suit that accentuated his muscular frame, the kind of outfit that screamed power and control. He spotted her, and a predatory smile spread across his face, a smile that had once made her feel cherished, but now sent shivers down her spine. Raquel, he greeted, his voice smooth yet laced with an underlying threat. You look, well, for someone living on the streets. She forced herself to meet his gaze, swallowing the bile that rose in her throat. What do you want, Victor? She asked, her voice steady, despite the turmoil inside her. He slid into the seat opposite her, leaning forward slightly, his eyes glinting, with a mix of arrogance and malice. I think we both know why I'm here. You've been playing house with your little girls, and I'm afraid I can't allow that. Raquel's heart raced as she clenched her fists in her lap, her nails digging into her palms. They're my daughters, Victor. You have no rights over them. Victor chuckled softly, his expression unchanging. Oh, but that's where you're wrong. Legally speaking, I am their father, and I intend to claim what is mine. The words hung between them heavy and suffocating. Raquel felt a wave of panic wash over her. She had fought tooth and nail to get away from him, to protect her daughters from his darkness. You're not fit to be a father, she spat, her voice rising. You're a monster. His smile widened, and he leaned back in his chair, seemingly amused. A monster? Is that what you tell yourself to sleep at night, that you're the saint and I'm the sinner? You think you can hide behind your little life in that mansion and pretend I don't exist? You think Noah can protect you? Don't. You dare mention his name? Raquel shot back, her voice trembling with fury. Noah is nothing like you. He cares about us. Cares? Victor scoffed, shaking his head. He's playing a game, Raquel. You're a pawn in his little charade of redemption. Just wait until he realizes what a burden you and those brats are. Raquel's breath quickened and she leaned in, her heart pounding. You won't get near them. I won't let you. I'll fight you with everything I have. Victor's demeanor shifted slightly, his eyes narrowing as he leaned closer, dropping his voice to a low whisper. You think you can fight me? I have resources you can't even begin to comprehend. I can make your life a living hell if you don't play nice. I'm the one with the power here, Raquel. Remember that. She forced herself to remain calm, even as dread clawed at her. I'm not afraid of you, Victor. I won't let you intimidate me anymore. He chuckled again, the sound cold and devoid of warmth. Oh, I'm counting on it. You see, I don't just want the girls. I want to expose you. I want the world to see what you really are. Her broken woman living in a mansion full of lies, pretending to be a good mother, when you're anything but. Raquel felt a chill run down her spine. You wouldn't dare. Try me, he said, the smile fading from his lips, as he leaned back, the menace in his voice lingering. There's a lot of dirt I can dig up, and I know exactly how to use it. Raquel gritted her teeth, her mind racing. You think you can scare me into submission? You're wrong. I don't need to scare you, Raquel. I just need to remind You have the consequences of crossing me, he replied, his tone now almost casual, as if they were discussing the weather instead of her life and her daughter's futures. You have until the end of the week to think about what I'm offering. If you choose to fight me, I'll show you just how ruthless I can be. With that, he stood up, straightening his jacket, as if their conversation had been nothing more than a casual chat. I'll be in touch, he said, tossing a few bills on the table before walking away, leaving Raquel frozen in her seat, her heart pounding with fear and anger. As he exited the cafe, Raquel felt the weight of his words pressing down on her. She had to protect Isabel and Nina at all costs, but how could she fight a man who wielded power like a weapon? How could she ensure their safety when the very man who had caused her so much pain was now threatening everything she loved? With her hands trembling, she took a deep breath, willing herself to focus. She needed to be strong for her daughters. She couldn't let Victor's darkness seep into their lives again. Gathering herself, she stood up and stepped outside the chill of the Chicago air, hitting her like a slap. As she walked back to the mansion, her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. She would need to talk to Noah to devise a plan. Together, they had to figure out how to keep Victor at bay. The stakes were higher than ever, and Raquel was determined not to let fear dictate her life or the lives of her daughters. As she reached the grand entrance of the mansion, she paused, glancing back over her shoulder. The city loomed behind her, indifferent and cold, but Raquel felt a flicker of resolve ignite within her. She would not be a victim anymore. She would fight not just for herself but for Isabel and Nina. They were her everything, and no one, especially not Victor, would take that away from her. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside, ready to face whatever storms lay ahead. The battle was far from over, but she was prepared to fight with every ounce of strength she had. Raquel sat in the dimly lit cafe, her hands wrapped tightly around a chipped ceramic mug, the warmth radiating through her fingers, providing a momentary escape from the chill that had settled deep in her bones. The cafe was a stark contrast to the cold streets of Chicago, its walls adorned with peeling paint and the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the sweet scent of pastries. She watched the rain trickle down the window, each droplet mirroring her restless thoughts. Across from her, Victor Hale leaned back in his chair, his expression a careful mask of calm. The flickering fluorescent light above cast shadows on his sharp features, accentuating the menace that lay just beneath the surface. Raquel felt a shiver race down her spine as she recalled the last time she had seen him. It was a memory she had tried to bury, but it had resurfaced with a vengeance since he returned to Chicago. Raquel, Victor began, his voice smooth as silk, but laced with an undercurrent of threat. You know we need to talk about the girls. Her heart raced and she took a deep breath, steadying herself. I won't let you take them, Victor. They're safe with me. Safe. He laughed, the sound cold and devoid of humor. You think living on the streets is safe? You think that hovel of a mansion is a good environment for them? You're delusional. They need stability, and you can't provide that. Raquel clenched her fists under the table, willing herself to remain composed. They have a home now, a real home. Noah he's taking care of us. Ah, Noah, he sneered. The heir to the Callahan Empire. How noble of him to play savior to a lost cause. But we both know how these fairy tales end. A flash of anger ignited within her, but she forced it down. The girls deserve a chance, Victor. You can't just waltz back into their lives and expect everything to go back to the way it was. Victor leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. You think you can hide behind him? You think you can keep me away from them? I will fight you in court, and I have the resources to win. You're nothing but a ghost of a mother, and I will expose you for what you really are. Raquel swallowed, hard the threat hanging in the air like a storm cloud. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, a primal response to the danger he posed. You're a monster, Victor. The girls don't even know you. You're a stranger to them. Maybe, he said, his tone casual, but I'm their father, and believe me, I know how to play this game. You'll be the one they'll forget in time. The weight of his words pressed down on her, but she refused to show any weakness. She thought of Isabel and Nina, their laughter and innocence. You won't get near them, Victor. I'll do whatever it takes to protect them. He smirked, leaning back in his chair. Protect them from me. You think you can just erase the past? I know what drives you, Raquel. I know your fears. The bell above the cafe door jingled, and Raquel turned to see Noah enter his presence, immediately bringing a sense of relief. He spotted her and strode over, his expression shifting from casual concern to simmering anger as he registered Victor at the table. "Raquel," he said, his voice low, "is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," she replied quickly, but her eyes darted to Victor, who was now regarding Noah with an unsettling smirk. "Ah, the Prince Charming," Victor said, his tone mocking. "I see you found yourself a new knight to defend you. How noble." Noah's jaw tightened as he focused on Victor. "You need to leave. This is between Raquel and me." "Is it?" Victor challenged, leaning forward. "You're just a boy playing dress-up in a man's world. This isn't a game, and I will not stand idly by while you try to play house with my children." "Your children?" Noah's voice rose, barely controlling his anger. "You haven't been a part of their lives. You have no claim over them." "Watch your tone," Victor snapped, leaning even closer. "You might think you're safe, but I have the means to change all of that. You don't know who you're dealing with." Raquel felt the tension in the air thicken, the cafe suddenly feeling smaller and more constricting. "Victor, this isn't going to solve anything," she interjected, trying to diffuse the situation. "You need to back off." Victor's eyes narrowed, and for a moment she saw something darker flicker beneath his calm facade. "You think you can protect them? You're nothing without me." "No, Victor, I'm everything because of what I've overcome." Raquel countered, her voice steady, despite the fear clawing at her insides. "I won't let you intimidate me anymore." Noah placed his hand on Raquel's arm, a comforting gesture that sent warmth through her. "You're not going to touch them, I'll make sure of that." Victor chuckled, the sound devoid of any humor. "You think this is a fairy tale? You're both living in a delusion. I will take them from you, and you'll watch as they learn to forget you." "No," Raquel said, her voice rising with newfound determination. "You will not take them. I refuse to let you control my life any longer." Victor's eyes flashed with anger, and he leaned back, assessing the two of them. "Very well, but remember, I will always be watching. I will not let this go." With that, he stood up, tossing a few bills on the table as he walked out of the cafe, the door swinging shut behind him with a finality that echoed in Raquel's chest. She released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, her heart racing. From the confrontation, Noah turned to her, his expression a mix of concern and frustration. "Are you okay?" "I will be," she replied, though doubt lingered in her voice. "Kai's not going to stop." "No," Noah said, determination hardening his features, "but I won't let him hurt you or the girls. We'll fight this together." Raquel searched his eyes, finding comfort in the sincerity of his words. "I don't want to drag you into this mess, Noah. You have your own life, your own family." He shook his head, his grip on her arm tightening. "You and the girls are my family now, Raquel. I'll protect you no matter what it takes." In that moment, her heart swelled with a mixture of hope and fear. They were standing at the edge of a storm, and while she feared what was to come, she also felt a flicker of strength igniting within her. For the first time in years, she wasn't alone in this fight. As they left the cafe, Raquel felt the weight of Victor's threats hanging over them, but she also felt the warmth of Noah's support beside her. Together they would face whatever darkness awaited them, and she would do everything in her power to protect her daughters from the shadows of their past.